Welcome back. Well, as you might have seen in the news, pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong have continued today, bolstered in numbers by the fact that today was a public holiday there. Ironically, the public holiday celebrated Chinese National Day, which marks 65 years of the Communist Party. So on a day set aside to celebrate China, Communist China, tens of thousands continue to pack Hong Kong CBD in a protest against China. They're calling for greater suffrage and democracy, but will they be successful, and how long can these protests last? Earlier this evening I spoke to John Keane, Director of the Sydney Democracy Network and Political Professor at the University of Sydney. There was a lot of expectation about a public holiday and how many people were going to flock onto the streets. All seems quite calm. The numbers are bigger, but nothing more has developed that we haven't seen this week, has it?
Well, probably the numbers tonight in Hong Kong will be probably the largest public demonstration ever in the history of Hong Kong.
Will they get to the 100,000 they were forecasting?
Yes, I think so, and there is an irony to this, which is that it is the 65th anniversary of the victory of the Communist Party of China and the foundation of the People's Republic of China. The other thing that happened today is that news filtered through of a speech by Xi Jinping, by President Xi Jinping, who reaffirmed that the system of one country and two systems must resolutely be preserved, and he called on the people of Hong Kong to behave as one family in the great motherland.
Now this was interesting because to me it's some typical Chinese opaqueness in the statement. One country, two systems sounds fair, you know, we acknowledge you, but your family, you're part of the motherland. Now we're getting into very much the communist leadership talk, aren't we?
Yes, we are. I think the thing to say is that the Chinese Communist Party have not handled this situation well. They have actually inflamed the dynamic. The very offer of one person, one vote, but only for candidates effectively approved by the Chinese Communist Party, proved to be the catalyst of this Umbrella Uprising, as it's being called. If
one wanted to be a complete cynic, you could argue what took them so long. I mean, it's been 17 years. They've gone along reasonably harmoniously till now. I mean, most people always thought that something would blow up at some point. The Chinese attitude has not relaxed generally, certainly in the motherland.
There is a strong feeling in Hong Kong, and it's been developing for some months prior to this Umbrella Uprising, that actually Beijing has its hands to the neck of Hong Kong, and that slowly but surely there is a choking of the freedoms and the pluralism and the diversity and the rule of law that is a specialty of Hong Kong. For the Chinese Communist Party, this is its gravest crisis for 25 years, and violence, which is the ultimate resource, it's the fist in the pocket of the power of the Communist Party, would have very damaging consequences on an economy which is the 8th largest trading economy in the world. Hong Kong is the financial hub of the Asia-Pacific region, and there is also one other consideration, which is that any crackdown on this umbrella uprising in Hong Kong will spread. It's certainly going to spread to Taiwan, where in just a few weeks there are municipal elections which are widely thought of in Taiwan as a warm-up for the presidential elections to come. And you can be sure that this dynamic in Hong Kong is already going to ensure a massive turnout in the Taiwan elections and a massive self-disciplined exercise in a free vote.
You talk about the consequences of a crackdown, and there's been lots of talk about this, will they or won't they? At the moment, I mean, the key days would have been today and tomorrow with the public holiday. Now, with the bigger numbers, they're expecting, as you said, they'll get the 100,000, it's the biggest ever, but they're staying relatively peaceful. If everybody just continues on this path, You say in an article you wrote this week in The Conversation, you virtually get the impression that you think if they just sit it out and everyone goes, they'll give up. The Hong Kong people just like to go back to making money, and this might all die down if they don't escalate it, won't it?
I think that's improbable, and I think that because the social basis of this umbrella uprising is now very large. It's not only the students who actually sparked an upsurge in the protest, but it's also large sections of the middle class. The churches are on side with the umbrella uprising, and very worrying for Beijing is the fact that in the past few days many in the banking and credit sector have actually spoken out in favour of the umbrella uprising. And what's worrying about that, or ought to be worrying for Beijing,
is that usually they put money first and don't want anything that disrupts commerce.
Yes, they do, but they also know that you cannot attract international business, you cannot conduct business properly unless you have rule of law, unless you have uncorrupted institutions. And this is the great advantage of Hong Kong in the overall Chinese system. And it's
sure,
why,
but let's be honest, these same people who are making the comments are desperate to do any business with China per se, with all those problems, and never want to, and don't seem to care about it then.
Yes, but they know that business will not invest in Hong Kong unless there is rule of law, unless there is integrity that pervades institutions, unless there is accountability, and so on.
You say in your article this week that you question whether the Chinese Communist Party leadership recognise that this is their Gorbachev moment, a chance for them to discharge the threat of violence and make peace with the citizens. Well, it didn't turn out so well for Mr. Gorbachev, did it? It was the end of the Soviet Union. I would have thought the last thing they want to do is follow his example.
No, and Xi Jinping is on record as saying that the reason why the Soviet Union collapsed is because nobody had the balls, as he put it, to actually prevent that by means of force. But a lot has changed in the past 25 years since Tiananmen. This is the gravest crisis for the Chinese Communist Party, and this is a multimedia era. I mean, everything is being watched, and we have all of this citizens' watchdog journalism coming from the streets. So Beijing's use of force is going to damage its soft power
Well, you say
image.
it's use of force. They haven't done it yet, and I go back to my original premise. If they don't, being well aware that this is being watched, if they sit it out, what will happen?
I think that the protests will continue. I think there has been a switch in the whole atmosphere from below among citizens, and the longer this goes on, the more likely that actually news of this uprising will actually penetrate the rest of China.
So yes, I see your point. So yeah, there's that. On the one hand, best not to try and sit it out. On the other, it can't go on forever. So it'll be interesting to know at what point's the tipping point.
I think we can be sure about one thing. Machiavelli, the great analyst of modern politics, said that in situations like this, fortuna, the woman who has a bag of tricks and surprises is the most powerful player, and that I think we can be absolutely sure of. We're in for some surprises, from some rude shocks. This is certainly the greatest drama for the past 25 years in Chinese politics and for the region.
Thank you very much for your time tonight, John Keane.
My pleasure.